Prinz Eugen was an Admiral Hipper-class heavy cruiser, the third of a class of 5 vessels. She served with Nazi Germany's Kriegsmarine during World War II. The ship was laid down in April 1936, launched in August 1938, and entered service after the outbreak of war in August 1940. She was named after Prince Eugene of Savoy, an 18th-century general in the service of Austria. She was armed with a main battery of 8 20.3 centimeters, 8-in guns and, although nominally under the 10,000 long-ton, 10,160 t limit set by the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, actually displaced over 16,000 long tons, 16,257 t. Prinz Eugen saw action during Operation Enubuj, an attempted breakout into the Atlantic Ocean with the battleship Bismarck in May 1941. The two ships destroyed the British battle cruiser Hood and moderately damaged the battleship Prince of Wales in the Battle of the Denmark Strait. Prinz Eugen was detached from Bismarck during the operation to raid Allied merchant shipping, but this was cut short due to engine troubles. After putting into occupied France and undergoing repairs, the ship participated in Operation Cerberus, a daring daylight dash through the English Channel back to Germany. In February 1942, Prinz Eugen was deployed to Norway, although her time station there was curtailed when she was torpedoed by the British submarine Trident days after arriving in Norwegian waters. The torpedo severely damaged the ship's stern, which necessitated repairs in Germany. Upon returning to active service, the ship spent several months training officer cadets in the Baltic before serving as artillery support for the retreating German army on the Eastern Front. After the German collapse in May 1945, she was surrendered to the British Royal Navy before being transferred to the U.S. Navy as a war prize. After examining the ship in the United States, the U.S. Navy assigned the cruiser to the Operation Crossroads nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll. Having survived the atomic blasts, Prinz Eugen was towed to Kwajalein Atoll, where she ultimately capsized and sank in December 1946. The wreck remains partially visible above the water approximately 2 miles northwest of Bucholz Army Airfield, on the edge of Enubuj. One of her screw propellers was salvaged and is on display at the Laboe Naval Memorial in Germany. Service history. Prinz Eugen's launch. Prinz Eugen was ordered by the Kriegsmarine from the German Werft shipyard in Kiel. 4. Her keel was laid down on April 23, 1936, under construction number 564 and the contract name Kreutzer J. She was originally to be named after Wilhelm von Takeithoff, the Austrian victor of the Battle of Lissa, though considerations over the possible insult to Italy, defeated by Takeithoff at Lissa, led the Kriegsmarine to adopt Prinz Eugen as the ship's namesake. 7. She was launched on August 22, 1938, in a ceremony attended by the governor, Reichsstatthalter, of the Ostmark, Arthur Seyss-Inquart, who made the christening speech. Also present at the launch were Adolf Hitler, the Regent of Hungary, Admiral Miklos Horthy, who had commanded the battleship SMS Prinz Eugen from November 24, 1917 to March 1, 1918, and his wife Magdalena Pergoli, who performed the christening. As built, the ship had a straight stem, though after her launch this was replaced with a clipper bow. A raked funnel cap was also installed. Commissioning was delayed slightly due to light damage sustained during a Royal Air Force attack on Kiel on the night of July 1, 1940. Prinz Eugen suffered 2 relatively light hits in the attack, but she was not seriously damaged and was commissioned into service on 1 August. The cruiser spent the remainder of 1940 conducting sea trials in the Baltic Sea. In early 1941, the ship's artillery crews conducted gunnery training. A short period in dry dock for final modifications and improvements followed. In April, the ship joined the newly commissioned battleship Bismarck for maneuvers in the Baltic. The two ships had been selected for Operation Enubuj, a breakout into the Atlantic to raid Allied commerce. On 23 April, while passing through the Fehmarn Belt en route to Kiel, Prinz Eugen detonated a magnetic mine dropped by British aircraft. The mine damaged the fuel tank, propeller shaft couplings, and fire control equipment. The planned sortie with Bismarck was delayed while repairs were carried out. Admirals Erich Raeder and Günter Lütjens discussed the possibility of delaying the operation further, in the hopes that repairs to the battleship Scharnhorst would be completed or Bismarck's sister ship Tirpitz would complete trials in time for the ships to join Prinz Eugen and Bismarck. Raeder and Lütjens decided that it would be most beneficial to resume surface actions in the Atlantic as soon as possible, however, and that the two ships should sortie without reinforcement. Operation Rheinübung. By May 11, 1941, repairs to Prince Eugen had been completed. Under the command of Kapitän zur See, KZS, Captain at Sea, Helmut Brinkmann, the ship steamed to Gotenhofen, where the crew readied her for her Atlantic sortie. On 18 May, Prince Eugen rendezvoused with Bismarck off Cape Arcona. The two ships were escorted by 3 destroyers, Hans Lodi, Z-16 Friedrich Eckelt, and Z-23, and a flotilla of minesweepers. The Luftwaffe provided air cover during the voyage out of German waters. At around 1300 hours on 20 May, the German flotilla encountered the Swedish cruiser HSWMS Gotland. The cruiser shadowed the Germans for 2 hours in the Kattegat. Gotland transmitted a report to naval headquarters, stating, 2 large ships, 3 destroyers, 5 escort vessels, and 10 to 12 aircraft passed Marstrand, course 205°/20. 16. The Oberkommando der Marine, OKM Naval High Command, was not concerned about the security risk posed by Gotland, though Lütjens believed operational security had been lost. The report eventually made its way to Captain Henry Denham, the British naval attaché to Sweden, who transmitted the information to the Admiralty. The codebreakers at Bletchley Park confirmed that an Atlantic raid was imminent, as they had decrypted reports that Bismarck and Prince Eugene had taken on prize crews and requested additional navigational charts from headquarters. A pair of Supermarine Spitfires were ordered to search the Norwegian coast for the German flotilla. On the evening of 20 May, Prince Eugene and the rest of the flotilla reached the Norwegian coast, the minesweepers were detached, and the 2 raiders and their destroyer escorts continued north. The following morning, radio intercept officers on board Prince Eugene picked up a signal ordering British reconnaissance aircraft to search for 2 battleships and 3 destroyers northbound off the Norwegian coast. At 7 o'clock on the 21st, the Germans spotted 4 unidentified aircraft that quickly departed. Shortly after 12 o'clock, the flotilla reached Bergen and anchored at Grimstad Fjord. While there, the ship's crews painted over the Baltic camouflage with the standard outboard grey worn by German warships operating in the Atlantic. Course of Prince Eugene and Bismarck and the ships that pursued them. While in Bergen, Prince Eugene took on 764 t, 752 long tons, 842 short tons, of fuel. Bismarck inexplicably failed to similarly refuel. At 19:30 on 21 May, Prince Eugene, Bismarck, and the 3 escorting destroyers left port. By midnight, the force was in the open sea and headed toward the Arctic Ocean. At this time, Admiral Raeder finally informed Hitler of the operation, who reluctantly allowed it to continue as planned. The 3 escorting destroyers were detached at 4:14 on 22 May, while the force steamed off Trondheim. At around 12 o'clock, Lütjens ordered his 2 ships to turn toward the Denmark Strait to attempt the breakout into the open waters of the Atlantic. By 4 o'clock on 23 May, Lütjens ordered Prince Eugene and Bismarck to increase speed to 27 knots, 50 km per hour, 31 miles per hour, to make the dash through the Denmark Strait. Upon entering the strait, both ships activated their FUMO radar detection equipment sets. Bismarck led Prince Eugene by about 700 meters, 2,300 feet, missed reduced visibility to 3,000 to 4,000 meters, 9,800 to 13,100 feet. The Germans encountered some ice at around 10 o'clock, which necessitated a reduction in speed to 24 knots, 44 km per hour, 28 miles per hour. 2 hours later, the pair had reached a point north of Iceland. The ships were forced to zigzag to avoid ice floes. At 19:22, hydrophone and radar operators aboard the German warships detected the cruiser HMS Suffolk at a range of approximately 12,500 meters, 41,000 feet. Prince Eugene's radio intercept team decrypted the radio signals being sent by Suffolk and learned that their location had indeed been reported. Admiral Lütjens gave permission for Prince Eugene to engage Suffolk, though the captain of the German cruiser could not clearly make out his target and so held fire. Suffolk quickly retreated to a safe distance and shadowed the German ships. At 20:30, the heavy cruiser HMS Norfolk joined Suffolk, but approached the German raiders too closely. Lütjens ordered his ships to engage the British cruiser. Bismarck fired 5 salvos, 3 of which straddled Norfolk and rained shell splinters on her decks. The cruiser laid a smoke screen and fled into a fog bank, ending the brief engagement. The concussion from the 38 cm guns disabled Bismarck's Fumo 23 radar set. This prompted Lütjens to order Prince Eugen to take station ahead so she could use her functioning radar to scout for the formation. The British cruisers tracked Prince Eugen and Bismarck through the night, continually relaying the location and bearing of the German ships. Battle of the Denmark Strait. The harsh weather broke on the morning of 24th May, revealing a clear sky. At 5:07 that morning, hydrophone operators aboard Prince Eugen detected a pair of unidentified vessels approaching the German formation at a range of 20 nautical miles, 37 kilometers, 23 miles, reporting noise of two fast-moving turbine ships at 280 degrees relative bearing. At 5:45, lookouts on the German ships spotted smoke on the horizon. These turned out to be from Hood and Prince of Wales, under the command of Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland. Lütjens ordered his ship's crews to battle stations. By 5:52, the range had fallen to 26,000 meters, 85,000 feet, and Hood opened fire, followed by Prince of Wales a minute later. 31. Hood engaged Prince Eugene, which the British thought to be Bismarck, while Prince of Wales fired on Bismarck. B. The British ships approached the Germans head-on, which permitted them to use only their forward guns, while Bismarck and Prince Eugene could fire full broadsides. Several minutes after opening fire, Holland ordered a 20 degrees turn to port, which would allow his ships to engage with their rear gun turrets. Both German ships concentrated their fire on Hood. About a minute after opening fire, Prince Eugene scored a hit with a high-explosive 20.3 cm shell, detonating unrotated projectile ammunition, and starting a large fire on Hood, which was quickly extinguished. 32. Holland then ordered a second 20 degrees turn to port, to bring his ships on a parallel course with Bismarck and Prince Eugene. By this time, Bismarck had found the range to Hood, so Lütjens ordered Prince Eugene to shift fire and target Prince of Wales to keep both of his opponents under fire. Within a few minutes, Prince Eugene scored a pair of hits on the battleship, and reported that a small fire had been started. 33. Lütjens then ordered Prince Eugene to drop behind Bismarck, so she could continue to monitor the location of Norfolk and Suffolk, which were still some 10 to 12 nautical miles, 19 to 22 kilometers, 12 to 14 miles, to the east. At 6 o'clock, Hood was completing her second turn to port when Bismarck's fifth salvo hit. Two of the shells landed short, striking the water close to the ship, but at least one of the 38 centimeters armor-piercing shells struck Hood and penetrated her thin upper belt armor. The shell reached Hood's rear ammunition magazine and detonated 112 t, 110 long tons, 123 short tons, of cordite propellant. 34. The massive explosion broke the back of the ship between the main mast and the rear funnel. The forward section continued to move forward briefly before the inrushing water caused the bow to rise into the air at a steep angle. The stern similarly rose upward as water rushed into the ripped open compartments. 35. After only 8 minutes of firing, Hood had disappeared, taking all but 3 of her crew of 1,419 men with her. 36. After a few more minutes, during which Prince of Wales scored 3 hits on Bismarck, the damaged British battleship withdrew. The Germans ceased fire as the range widened, though Captain Ernst Lindemann, Bismarck's commander, strongly advocated chasing Prince of Wales and destroying her. 37. Lütjens firmly rejected the request, and instead ordered Bismarck and Prince Eugene to head for the open waters of the North Atlantic. 38. After the end of the engagement, Lütjens reported that a battle cruiser, probably Hood, sunk. Another battleship, King George V or Renown, turned away damaged. 2 heavy cruisers maintained contact. 39. At 8:01, he transmitted a damage report and his intentions to ɔɪ଼ɡeːn, which were to detach Prince Eugene for commerce raiding and to make for St. Nazaire for repairs. 40. Shortly after 10 o'clock, Lütjens ordered Prince Eugene to fall behind Bismarck to discern the severity of the oil leakage from the bow hit. After confirming broad streams of oil on both sides of Bismarck's wake, 41, Prince Eugene returned to the forward position. 41. Separation and return to France. With the weather worsening, Lütjens attempted to detach Prince Eugene at 1640. The squall was not heavy enough to cover her withdrawal from Wake Walker's cruisers, which continued to maintain radar contact. Prince Eugene was therefore recalled temporarily. 42. The cruiser was successfully detached at 1814. Bismarck turned around to face Wake Walker's formation, forcing Suffolk to turn away at high speed. Prince of Wales fired 12 salvos at Bismarck, which responded with 9 salvos, none of which hit. The action diverted British attention and permitted Prince Eugene to slip away. 43. On 26 May, Prince Eugene rendezvoused with the supply ship ๊pʁɪnts to refill her nearly empty fuel tanks. 44. She had by then only 160 tons fuel left, enough for a day. 45. Afterwards the ship continued further south on a mission against shipping lines. 46. Before any merchant ship was found, defects in her engines showed, and on 27 May, the day Bismarck was sunk, she was ordered to give up her mission and make for a port in occupied France. 47. On 28 May Prince Eugene refueled from the tanker SO Hamburg. The same day more engine problems showed up, including trouble with the port engine turbine, the cooling of the middle engine and problems with the starboard screw, reducing her maximum speed to 28 knots. 48. The screw problems could only be checked and repaired in a dock, and thus Brest, with its large docks and repair facilities, was chosen as destination. Despite the many British warships and several convoys in the area, at least 104 units were identified on the 29th by the ship's radio crew. Prince Eugene reached the Bay of Biscay undiscovered, and on 1 June the ship was joined by German destroyers and aircraft off the coast of France south of Brest, and escorted to Brest, which she reached late on 1 June, where she immediately entered dock. Service with the United States Navy. USS Prince Eugene passing through the Panama Canal in 1946. The guns on a turret are missing. On May 27, 1945, Prince Eugene and the light cruiser Nürnberg, the only major German naval vessels to survive the war in serviceable condition, were escorted by the British cruisers Dido and Devonshire to Wilhelmshaven. On 13 December, Prince Eugene was awarded as a war prize to the United States, which sent the ship to Wesermond. The United States did not particularly want the cruiser, but it did want to prevent the Soviet Union from acquiring it. Her U.S. commander, Captain Arthur H. Grobart, recounted later how the British, Soviet and U.S. representatives in the Control Commission all claimed the ship, and how in the end the various large prizes were divided in 3 lots, Prince Eugene being one of them. The 3 lots were then drawn lottery-style from his hat, with the British and Soviet representatives drawing the lots for other ships and Grobart being left with a lot for Prince Eugene. The cruiser was commissioned into the U.S. Navy as the unclassified miscellaneous vessel USS Prince Eugene with a hull number 9300. A composite American-German crew consisting of 574 German officers and sailors, supervised by 8 American officers and 85 enlisted men under the command of Grobart, then took the ship to Boston, departing on January 13, 1946 and arriving on 22 January. After arriving in Boston, the ship was extensively examined by the U.S. Navy. Her very large GHG passive sonar array was removed and installed on the submarine USS Flying Fish for testing. American interest in magnetic amplifier technology increased again after findings in investigations of the fire control system of Prince Eugene. The guns from turret Anton were removed while in Philadelphia in February. On 1 May the German crewmen left the ship and returned to Germany. Thereafter, the American crew had significant difficulties in keeping the ship's propulsion system operational. 11 of her 12 boilers failed after the Germans departed. The ship was then allocated to the fleet of target ships for Operation Crossroads in Bikini Atoll. Operation Crossroads was a major test of the effects of nuclear weapons on warships of various types. The trouble with Prince Eugene's propulsion system may have influenced the decision to dispose of her in the nuclear tests. She was towed to the Pacific via Philadelphia and the Panama Canal, departing on 3 March. The ship survived 2 atomic bomb blasts, Test Able, an air burst on July 1, 1946, and Test Baker, a submerged detonation on 25 July. 84. Prince Eugene was moored about 1,200 yards, 1,100 meters, from the epicenter of both blasts and was only lightly damaged by them. 85. The Able blast only bent her foremast and broke the top of her mainmast. 86. She suffered no significant structural damage from the explosions but was thoroughly contaminated with radioactive fallout. The ship was towed to the Kwajalein Atoll in the Central Pacific, where a small leak went unrepaired due to the radiation danger. On August 29, 1946, the U.S. Navy decommissioned Prince Eugene. By late December 1946, the ship was in very bad condition. On 21 December, she began to list severely. A salvage team could not be brought to Kwajalein in time. 84, so the U.S. Navy attempted to beach the ship to prevent her from sinking, but on 22 December, Prince Eugen capsized and sank. Her main battery gun turrets fell out of their barbets when the ship rolled over. The ship's stern, including her propeller assemblies, remains visible above the surface of the water. The U.S. government denied salvage rights on the grounds that it did not want the contaminated steel entering the market. In August 1979, one of the ship's screw propellers was retrieved and placed in the Laboe Naval Memorial in Germany. The ship's bell is currently held at the National Museum of the United States Navy, while the bell from Tegethoff is held in Graz, Austria. Beginning in 1974, the U.S. government began to warn about the danger of an oil leak from the ship's full-fuel bunkers. The government was concerned about the risk of a severe typhoon damaging the wreck and causing a leak. Starting in February 2018, the U.S. Navy, including the Navy's Mobile Diving and Salvage Unit 1, U.S. Army, and the Marshall Islands conducted a joint oil removal effort with the salvage ship USNS Salver, which had cut holes into the ship's fuel tanks to pump the oil from the wreck directly into the oil tanker Humber. The U.S. Navy announced that the work had been completed by October 15, 2018. The project had extracted approximately 250,000 U.S. gallons, 950,000 liters, of fuel oil, which amounted to 97% of the fuel remaining aboard the wreck. Lieutenant Commander Tim Emge, the officer responsible for the salvage operation, stated that there are no longer active leaks. The remaining oil is enclosed in a few internal tanks without leakage and encased by layered protection.